Hello, I'm Paul Hogan, Director of Athletics, men's basketball coach, and Professor of Sports Management, alongside Chuck Lloyd.
Hi there, Chuck Lloyd, President at White Mountains Community College and former assistant to Paul Hogan for about 10 years here at NHTI, where I also spent about 15 years of my career.
A lot of great memories, We had a lot of fun with basketball.
We had some fun. You know, basketball happened to be at the center of it, but I think it was a little more than just basketball too. It was just, fun and friends and family, so it's a good time.
Well said, well said. So, I mean, some of the great memories that you had. What was your favorite travel experience of all the years that you got a chance to? Was it going to Nationals? Was it going to Central Maine? Was it going to Vermont Tech?
Well, of course, my long ride, I just drove 2 hours to get here, and I said, geez, what are some of the questions I'm going to ask Paul? And that was one of my questions, your favorite ride, so you beat me to the punch. I think I have a favorite local one, which would be the Vermont Tech, where Coach Newcomb, really dialed in the experience very well. He had it all mapped out on GPS, told us to the second how fast we would get there. He's always been good with the GPS, and stopping at the restaurant along the way at Subway. That was one of my favorite parts as well.
Albany trip.
The Albany trip, we're racing home to get to see the Super Bowl after we got a nice win. I don't know if he put the order in wrong or not, but our sandwiches weren't quite ready. And it's just one of those things throughout practices and games where, we're talking X's and O's 1 second, we're talking mayonnaise and mustard the next second. So that really kind of wraps together road trips for me. That was the fun part.
Well, every Final Four trip for the Yankee was always fun, whether it was going to one of the two main sites or hosting it here, but ultimately to lead to that trip to Pennsylvania. At least that's what the last bunch of years that we went to. Those are special memories too.
Yeah, the national trip, to Pennsylvania, the very first trip, I think, was a learning experience. It was fun, just staying, for a lot of our players hadn't stayed at these, 5-star resorts before, waking up and making breakfast for the team and really having to schedule and map out their day where, in a typical college campus day, we've got them for 2 hours for practice, they're back to the res hall and dining hall, but after that it was mapping out every minute of the day and making sure they had a full experience, and I think we did.
Yeah, for sure. We had a lot of exciting games over the years. Can you think of a couple of games that were special to you that we won or that we lost? We won most of them, so.
I was going to say we had a pretty good record over the years. I think I go back to the 2005, the national championship run. I think it was a loss, first of all, very early in the year. I think it was game 3 to Bunker Hill. We lost by 3 points, and we fast forward 30 games, and you say, if we had gotten 9 more points throughout the year, we'd be undefeated. We had those 3 losses, and I fast forward all those games, and I know those are the ones that stick with you. It hurts to lose more than it's nice to win. I hate to lose. I think, and our teams have always embodied that as well. No matter what it is, we talk about basketball, and I think you go back and say, Nate Trunzolito, if we were playing Tiddlywinks, he has to win. He's just so competitive, and I think all of our teams have just been super competitive.
Yeah, the 2005 team was really special, and of course, with us winning the Nationals last spring, the common question get asked, which team was better and so forth, and you saw both teams up close and personal. 2 different types of teams. The big, strong, powerful 2005 team that could really stroke it and was deep on the offensive side and could do some different things on the defensive side with pressing. And then this past year, the 2020 team, just lightning from defense to offense, the transition game was a big part of that particular team and the athleticism and quickness. So, what stood out to you about the 2005 team?
Well, I love the comparison. That was one of my questions. You stole another one. We really didn't prepare this, but you've stolen half of my questions so far.
Oh, we always think alike.
Somebody asked me before, if this year's national champion versus the 05, who's winning? I said, I'm not sure who wins, but the final score is 271 to 269. They always, just both teams find a way to score, they just did it differently. I would say the 05 team, I just wouldn't want to run into one of their screens.
Right.
They set mean screens, and they're giants, they're big. But I think, just watching your team this year was a lot of fun. Just from how they grew, I think that's the part that stands out to me most. They've grown over the course of the 35 plus games you play on top of probably 7 scrimmages and whatnot. So you find a way to get 50 games in. But, I think this year's team was was just as disciplined, but in a different way. As in, the ball goes through the hoop, it doesn't touch the floor. You rip the ball out of the net, and they're gone. They're scoring before the other team even knows what's going on. So that was the quickness, the reaction, but it was also, the automatics. You talk about automatics. What do you do as instinct? And by the time you get to the championship, that's exactly what happened. They could turn it right around. That was fun. '05, I've got to point back to, Zach Hall stands out to me as just tough. He was a little older. He had the maturity, but he had this natural leadership ability where he didn't have to say anything. To the point where he started playing in knee pads because he was guaranteed to dive on the floor 6 or 8 times. And if there was a scrum at the bottom, he would be at the bottom, but he'd also come up with the ball somehow. Wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the loudest guy, but he taught everyone else how to play.
Zach was very much like a coach on the floor. And I would say Chris Barker, also at the point guard position, he was kind of the authority figure with the team of letting people know when they were stepping out of line inappropriately or not as focused as they needed to be. But Zach was that coach who helped organize on the floor to keep us organized with whether it be running the offense or matchups on defense, whatever we might be doing, putting people in the right spots, and that was important. Because as you know, I don't like to call timeouts, so.
No, even though you get extras once in a while, depending on which state you're in. If you head up to Maine, sometimes they give you a couple extras. The part I had forgotten, I was thinking about Chris Barker on the way here, who, he was a man, strong, physical, fast, but the first 3 weeks of practice, remember, he'd go to soccer practice first, and then he would come in and run with our guys.
Right.
So I think he instantly had this respect about him of, oh my goodness, he just ran for 2 hours on this giant soccer field. Now he's running circles around guys in the gym. So I think he walked in having that respect already.
I think you're right. And when we lost the Bunker Hill game at the beginning of the season, and we had a huge deficit of 28 points, and we came back, we ran out of time, we lost by a couple points, and Chris Barker kind of said it right there on the spot. He was not happy, and everybody took notice, and I was like, oh. Inside I was just smiling. There was no need to have a big speech about the game because Chris Barker had already said it. He had already let everybody know this is not going to be what's going to happen this year. We're going to win games, we're going to be tough, and we're going to show up and be mentally and physically focused every single time. And we were. The only time I felt that we were not as focused that year as we needed to be was the Hesser game at home. And we had beaten Hesser pretty handily at Hesser, and they were a good team. But we let that one slip away, and a close game because we didn't show up with our A game that particular day.
That's because when we went down and played them there, we didn't have to show up. James Thorpe shows up and hits every 3 in America from the corner. You only need one guy, and we beat the team that day. Going back to, you said you don't have to ever say anything, because Chris Barker said something. There are times when you say something. And I was thinking about the locker room, the consistency before the game, the same 3 things you always say before every game, whether it's point and play, transition, reverse the ball. Has that message changed over, first of all, your 20 plus years here at NHTI, your time at Plymouth State or at the high school ranks or whatever? What is that message before the game, and how do you try to make sure you're not saying too much, but you're saying just enough before a game?
Honestly, it's the same message that we've used here, and I've been in our practices just ended yesterday for the fall, successful, about 2 months of practice and team building and so forth. And actually, that we're really pounding that into their heads here at the end of the semester. Exactly what you just said. No, three things. Those 3 things we need to do, and if we can do those things, then we're going to be successful day in and day out. And certainly we were. And I just think, especially with the amount of time that you have for the players here, you can't get too complex. So the focus is the very important thing, and if they can focus on those 3 things, and we can sell it because we're all in sales, then we'll be successful. So yes, that hasn't changed. I might have said some different things back in the Plymouth days, but I had a different amount of time with those players, with those teams. So different circumstances.
That's one of the things I think I've always really admired about you is you keep it simple. You try not to go beyond 3 or 4 things at a time. You come into a huddle, a timeout, 30 seconds, 1 minute, doesn't matter. You pick 1 or 2 things. Whereas I watch some evolving coaches, young coaches, literally try to coach every play on the floor to the point where it's exhausting and they'll lose their voice. And I guess at what point do you release the reins and let play just happen for a few plays before you call a timeout? And at what stage in your career did you say, all right, I've got to kind of be a minimalist here? Whereas, again, I'll say younger coaches, evolving coaches, I literally watch this all the time. They're coaching every play. They're calling every play, but they're literally trying to correct on the fly, which is sometimes to their detriment.
Well, you bring up a really good point. I don't think with NHTI we really ever run anything that we've never practiced for that reason. The amount of time that you have with the players and the team, I think you have to keep it simple and focused. And when you go into a huddle, I do think, I don't want to talk to them too long. I want to give them a moment. I step out, meet a player to get a key message, and I walk into the huddle. They've already had 10 or 15 seconds to get a drink of water, to relax. Maybe they're reminding each other of something, and then I've got my 15 to 20 seconds. Boom, this is what we need to do. Let's do it, let's go. And then I'll grab a player, maybe as a reminder, hey, you got to get the check out or force the baseline, or we're going to run this play the next time down the floor. Those are some of the things that would happen in a typical timeout. And that's something, you coach as long as I have, and you keep looking in the mirror about what you're doing and how you're doing it, and going to clinics and talking to other coaches too. I think we watch with NBA coaches that it's not realistic for our situation, and I just don't think our players are going to go out and run a play that I draw up, at flash during the games. I don't think it's going to work out too well.
Well, I will say I get to see your best and your worst coaching. I get to see it all in one play in 2005 when you hit to Trunzolito from 33 feet. Trunzi, don't shoot it. And he shoots it. He hits the shot of the game. And you say, great shot, Trunzi. Almost like you drew it up. Yeah. That one stands out to me. But also a couple of other key things. We haven't talked about Jesse Bob much. And Jesse Bob was one of the key leaders on that team. Silent, vocal, played through injury to the point where I still have this vision of him shooting his free throws left-handed.
4 for 4.
4 for 4. What does that tell a young player? What does that tell a group of players hoping to make the team the following year? What is Jesse Bopp, what he went through that year, remembering he came in as this transfer student, and what does that all look like for a young player or somebody sitting 11, 12, 13 down on the bench? What does that message say?
That's one of the biggest things with any successful team is that everybody kind of finds a role. As a coach, you try and help them find that role and feel important too. And Jesse was a vocal locker room leader. I know why he's a good coach today, because he has all those intangible. The players liked him, they respected him. He practiced hard, and he had key moments. And when we need him in the national championship game, he came through, and that was huge. That was absolutely huge for us. And every single year we're working on that right now, of players, trying to find their roles, what they're good at, what they're not good at, and understanding that. We did some team building exercises yesterday, as a matter of fact, with that same goal of players figuring out their importance to the team, and a team is only as good as all of its members. And here we have let's say our 3 groups are gold, black, and red, and the red are mostly made up of the new players who are developing and so forth. Well, as I stated to them the other day, when the red team becomes good, then our whole team will become good, because then every practice becomes better, more competitive, when they know what we're doing offensively, defensively, without having to be mechanical, having to overthink, and just play and use their athletic ability. Then we become that much better, and we're also deeper.
Yeah, I love how you talk about the bottom 5, if you will, the red, because I remember some of our very good teams, there was not much of a difference from the top 5, middle, and bottom 5. Interchangeably, every single day. If someone couldn't be there, you could plug and play all day. They all knew the plays, they knew the positions. And I go back to thinking, that bottom 5 is what makes the top 5 the best, because they're competing. They've got nothing to lose. They're all out 100 miles an hour at all times, but they're challenging that top group, so you have to be better. Right. That part, for me, has been a lot of fun. You talked about leadership. I want to talk a little bit about family. And, I will say from, 2002, I had been here a couple of years already at NHTI, and for me, I felt like I was just coming to work each day and leaving. Until I got involved in the athletics family, I just felt like I didn't really have a place. Very similarly, the mayor, we haven't talked about, didn't really have a place. He was, from Boston. You brought him up, Jason Atten, you instantly started calling him the mayor because the whole place clearly revolves around him. And I watched you as a coach and mentor sort of soften to the point where, I always thought of you as this, hard and fast basketball coach. I think Jay started the softening up of you to taking more and more players under your wing, but I saw you also evolve as a coach with more empathetic leadership. Talk to me about that evolution for you, of how you, really, you've helped kids from picking them up at the bus station, the airport, making sure they have meals, making sure every breakfast there's a set of bananas in Jason Hatton's, office, the mayor's office. Talk to me about that outside of basketball and how it contributes to life on the floor.
Well, as an educator, your players, your students are your family, whether it be for 2 hours a day or for 6 months, and you spend a lot of time with people, and you want mutual respect. It's earned. Players have to earn it, coaches have to earn it, and the expectation. You talked about automatics earlier, and it is about the automatics. It's showing up, it's communicating, it's growing as an individual, it's listening and focus. And Jay was one of those guys. And he came in a different situation, a little bit older. He actually played a whole bunch of sports here and was extremely active with anything that we did on campus, which instantly made him a celebrity. He also had some other things that he was really good at, but he also with his big body at 6'7", and sometimes pushing, close to 300 pounds, he was a big body to go up and down. So there were some different things that we did with him to make sure that he could stay healthy, whether it be putting a bike in the corner so that he could ride the bike while the other players might be doing more sprint work, because it was better for his legs and his back. And we did a variety of those things. And it's the snacks in the office, those things that were important too. And plus, that brought him in to the office.
That's a great
entertaining the office, hard getting work done when he was around, but I'd send him over to your office afterwards.
I was out of snacks too.
But those are the things that you just look inside everybody's heart, and you love all your players, and the longer you spend with them, the more you want to do for them, and that's part of coaching. That's part of teaching. That's part of the whole educational world. You stay in touch with a bunch of people over a period of years, and certainly he continues to be one that we hold dear to our heart and stay in touch with. So whatever we can do for our folks within the rules and that's reasonable, we absolutely try to do. So, and I know you do the exact same thing.
That's what makes it fun. It's when we had offices back to back, we'd send players back and forth to help us out do things and get them engaged and involved. Now, you said Jay was involved in several different sports. True or false, he once dressed as a cheerleader for a talent show?
Yeah, I don't think he won. That was the scary part. But yeah, he played, he was goalie in soccer and went to the national tournament several times and did really well. He played first base in baseball. One spring, he played on our volleyball team when we had a men's volleyball team. He loved volleyball. And anytime there was a Halloween contest, he was the cheerleader. He had the Capitol cheer that he did, and I have a picture of that one.
I did too.
So, and when we put up the NOAA machine in the gymnasium that speaks to you and talks about your arc on your shot, and he hadn't seen it yet, and he walks in, and his number was 44 in basketball. So it walks in, and somebody's shooting a free throw, and it kept going, 44, 44. He thought that the announcer was in there and it was introducing him because he was coming up for the wiffle ball game that you were probably running. So anyway, that's a great memory to share too. And what a terrific guy! What a terrific guy! the mayor. And he spoke at graduation.
And he did. Well, that's the other thing, is a lot of our players over the years have been engaged on campus, so much so, winning some of the bigger awards which require you to speak, to give you the honor. I say required because they always get nervous when I say, you got to speak at commencement now. And they say, oh, geez. But yeah, they've always been engaged in student activities, in the residence hall, student government. Probably too much over at the cafeteria they've been involved.
Seconds. They get seconds.
So, as we're probably wrapping up here in the next minute or so, you've been here for 20 plus years, you've got over 600 wins, 2 national championships. I don't know if this could ever be topped. As maybe you've got 10 or 15 more years of coaching, I don't know, I'll let you fill that one in. What's going to be your lasting legacy for, first of all, the state of New Hampshire in athletics, but also here at NHTI?
That's a great question. NHTI has been very good to me. I've had a lot of fun here. The basketball experience has been great, working with people like you and Simon Keeling and Jordan Fithian, and I don't want to forget everybody. There's so many great people that we've had who come in to help, coach, and those friendships that have been created, the basketball players and the successes, watching our players move on with families and do well with their careers, which that's to me that's the ultimate of being an educator, is watching your folks move on and be successful. The coaching piece, I just take it year to year. My body's holding up. I still love it. I still get competitive in the games. I get competitive at practice. I look in the mirror every morning and ask myself if I'm ready to do it again, and the answer keeps being yes. So I get excited. We had a weekend practices. If it's I have gotten softer because we practiced at 9:30 the last few days.
The day's half over.
So instead of our 8 or 7:30 in the morning practices, but I'm getting here at 7:30 in the morning, getting ready for 7:15, getting ready for the practice, making sure the lights are on, the practice gear's ready, getting the gym set up, everything's clean and ready to go and prepped, and then being able to greet the players when they come in the door into the gym and check in with them. I still get a thrill out of that, because that's what it's about when you're around. And this year it's a different group from last year. We got 6 or 7 kids back from last year's team, and you get to be really great friends with them, and then you got a new group that you're getting to know, and that's exciting too. And then you reacquaint yourself with the Sean Menards, who's now in year 2 and just is growing as a player, and you see him being confident, and his basketball stuff, his academics is great. You see that, and just it makes it all worthwhile. So I can't say enough about how much fun I've had at NHTI on the basketball piece, and all the great rivalry games that we've had over the years, and look forward to more of those. And this is a strange year, so who knows what will happen in the second half in the winter. We have games scheduled. We'll see if we get to play. If we get to play, great. If we don't, we're going to have a lot of maroon gold games, or we may even mix in some white, and maybe you'll have to come back and do a guest appearance on the sideline as one of the coaches.
I know the plays.
Do you call timeouts?
I'm not a big.
You use a timeout.
I'd love to come back and play. That's fun.
We've had, you think about the, some of the coaching staffs that you worked on, with Ralph Lewis, and you mentioned Andy Newcomb, and Jordan Fithian, and Andrew York, Simon, and go right down the list.
Great group. And that for me, at some point, I was the new guy to start with. At some point, I became kind of like the senior assistant. And as new guys were coming in, it was like, all right, you keep this, you take care of this, I'll take care of the book. And we all kind of, worked together. But it was always like, what can we do to get any kind of little competitive edge? And that to me is, we all like to compete. But as people, we've got to watch them as they transition from players to coaches too. And it's like, okay, you can't be out there playing anymore, but what can you do on the sidelines to help? What is that one nugget of information you can share? In warm-ups, I saw this about the guy you're guarding. You've got to make sure, during a checkout, he tries to swim move or whatever it might be. So that part was fun for me too. It's a good time.
No question. Well, I want to say thanks for coming in, Chuck, and sharing a little bit about basketball. We could talk for hours. We do all the time anyway. And for all your years of support of NHTI athletics, in particular men's basketball, we've we've shared a lot of fun, so thank you so much.
And thanks to you, this has been fun, and it's been a long time since I put the NHTI on instead of White Mountains, but I will share it, and I just appreciate all you've done to build the program here and to support me along the way as well. Thank you.